Available now for a great price at shop.tcm.com and Barnes & Noble DVD locations.
Hi, I'm Robert Osborne. Right now we continue our look at some interesting British films which have American actors in the leads. Our next movie stars a dynamo of an actress who stood only 5'3" tall but towered on screen, and when she wanted, she made you believe she was as overwhelming as King Kong. I speak of Bette Davis, and next we have a film that Bette made in England right after her big success in the 1950 Oscar winner All About Eve. She first took a breather, one just long enough for her to go to Juarez, Mexico, to marry Gary Merrill, who'd been her leading man in All About Eve. At the time, her name had suddenly become important again in Hollywood, and the reason she went to England to make this next movie was because it's the only film she was offered at that point which had an equally important starring role for her new husband. The title of the movie is Another Man's Poison, and it was co-produced by one of Bette's former leading men, Douglas Fairbanks Jr. And I actually had a chance one time to ask Fairbanks what it was like producing a film with Bette Davis in it. And he thought about it for a few seconds and then kind of broke into a big smile, and he said, well, she certainly kept me on my toes. But then he added, at what could only be described as the understatement of a true gentleman, he said there was never anyone quite like Bette. Well, if you haven't seen this film, Bette in it plays a mystery writer living in the English countryside and in love with a good-looking guy played by Anthony Steele. But she's thrown into a rage when a mysterious man played by Gary Merrill, who's been serving time in prison, escapes and shows up on her doorstep, which eventually leads to the two of them becoming involved in deception, blackmail, murder, a great deal of cigarette smoking, and for one unsuspecting soul, a drop or two of poison. It's in this film that Bette Davis gives what may be the best impersonation anyone ever gave of Bette Davis. From 1951, also Inman Williams, and directed by an old pal of Bette's from her glory days at Warner Brothers Studios, Irving Rapper. Here's Another Man's Poison.